Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Prison Brantgate deck profile for post-awakening of Chakrabarthi. Big thanks to my buddy Jim for letting me borrow his prison deck for the deck profile. This is definitely one of probably the best decks out of the latest set. The new Seraph Purelight is just so strong of a card that it can basically work alone with the entire deck. It's just added backup for being able to imprison a bunch of cards that your opponent has for the setup that the deck is meant to do, and being able to take from all resources from your opponent's deck using this card alone. So with all the new cards we've gotten mixed in with all the support from the previous sets, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, our ride deck pretty much remains the same, with our starter being Aurora Battle Princess, Ruby Red. When wrote upon, if you want second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Canite Blue. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, search your deck for up to one prison card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So the card you'll search for is the Order, which is the Galaxy Central Prison, which sets up all of your prison plays in the deck. And then having the added backup with our grade 2, which is Aurora Battle Princess Rosette Pink. When it's placed on Vanguard, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and imprisons it in your prison, giving you the first initial setup for the prison deck. And then our grade 3 being the Aurora Battle Princess Seraph Snow, having the prison option, the additional drive +1 when your opponent has 3 or more of their cards in your prison, and being able to counterblast 1 each turn and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and imprison it in the prison. You'll usually only have the Seraph Snow on the Vanguard circle for 1 turn, because the go-to unit that you want to ride into is your grade 4, which we're running 4 of, and that is Aurora Fierce Princess Seraph Purelight. When this unit is placed on Vanguard circle, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Card with Seraph and its card name. Your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand, rear guards, and Soul, and imprisons them in your prison. That's 6 cards in total that you're putting in your prison in total. And on Vanguard circle during your turn, all of your front row units get plus 5,000 for every 2 cards of your opponent's cards imprisoned in your prison. And if your opponent more are imprisoned, all of them get with 10 or more. All your front row units get critical +1. This is immense pressure just because you have the 6 set up from this card alone, and then the additional cards that all your backup cards in the deck meant to work with the different Aurora Battle Princesses and other Brantgate cards, just to make it that much easier for you to have units in your soul ready to use. For the grade 2s, we're not running any other additional grade 3s in the deck. We're running 4 of the Aurora Battle Princess Accused Macarite. This is a pretty pricey promo, so if you don't have this promo to use, you can always use Aggro Rouge. It was the triple rare released in the first booster set for additional prison options. When this unit is placed on rearguard from your hand, you Soul Blast 1, and your opponent imprisons the top card of their deck into their prison face up. Then if 2 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, this unit gets plus 5,000 till end of turn. It's just a way to work around the fact that your opponent may not call rear guards to then have imprisoned, or the deck might focus on other options like Orphist being a more, token setup with the Shadow Army tokens, so you can get around that with Macarite. Or even if decks like Greedon don't have any rear guards, Macarite helps to set up those cards from your opponent's deck into the prison for you to use. And like I said, if you don't have Macarite, like I said, it's pretty pricey. You can at least use Aggro Rouge, a more readily available grade 2 to put into the deck. Another card that we run is 4 copies of Aurora Battle Princess Cuff Spring. When this unit is placed on rearguard, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and imprisons it in your prison. If it was imprisoned, your opponent draws a card. Just a way to take another card. It doesn't really eat away their resources. It just gives you the card needed for your card to work, and not requiring any Counterblast or Soul Blast, meaning you can save all of them for the other cards we spoke of, whether it be Purelight, Snow, or Seraph, there's no snow in the name, and also the Macarites. For the additional grade 2s we run in the deck, also running 3 of the Aurora Battle Princess Spark Limon. When this unit attack hits, choose up to 2 unit cards from your opponent's drop zone and imprison them in your prison. So with the added power that your Seraph Purelight can provide, this card just gives you more and more setup for the prison to use, just strengthening your numbers altogether. It's a lower number though. I would say the Cuff Spring and Macarite are definitely a lot more needed in the deck, with the last of the grade 2 numbers just being 2 of the Perio Turquoise, another card that just weakens your opponent's units once they release them from the prison onto the field, making them all get minus 5,000 power. And during your turn, if 2 or more of your opponent's cards were imprisoned in your prison, this unit gets plus 5,000 power on its own. So it's more the option just to have it on the field to then minus your opponent's own unit's power. And moving on now to the grade 1s, running 4 of the new Aurora Battle Princess, Suppress Gleamer. If you have a Vanguard with Seraph in its card name, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. And when this unit is placed on rear from hand, if 3 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as this unit and call it to rear. This just gives you options for boosters. We're running 4 of this card, so you have all of those cards readily available to call out onto the field, and then providing the 8k boost, whether it be any of your grade 2s that are attacking into your opponent. It's more of an added option because you're already hitting some pretty big numbers with the front row. The 8k boost is just an added option, and also having this unit get plus 5,000 power on rear guard continuously. And I'm also running 4 of the Cheval Stud. This is probably one of the best grade 1s that have remained in the deck since set 1. You Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and imprison it in your prison. If there are 3 or more cards in your opponent's prison, you draw a card. So it's definitely a little wordy, mixing up, because your opponent's cards in your prison, imprisoned, but you get a draw for just a Counterblast and a Soul Blast, and choosing one of those rear guards to imprison in your prison can help to then just set up the Seraph Pure Light that much more quickly. The last of the grade 1s that I run in the deck are 4 of the Sentinel Violate Dragon, just when placed on the guard circle like all the other Sentinels from the first booster set. If you only have one other card in your hand, it means you don't have to pay the guard cost for this card. So if your opponent gets an over trigger and they give all the effects to your rear guard, you can then at least guard with the first trigger, blocking the initial attack, and then have the final Sentinel to block that other attack that with some of the other decks, depending on what they were, especially with the Brant Gate mirror matches, the additional critical pressure can at least be blocked with that additional Sentinel in your hand. And then as for the orders, the only order we are running in the deck is the 1 Galaxy Central Prison, Galactolus. You rest one of your units to play this card. When this unit is put into the order zone, you soul charge 3. And from your order zone, when your opponent can normal call a rear guard, they can perform the following. They can Soul Blast 1 to choose one of their imprisoned cards and call it, or Counterblast 1 to choose 2 of their imprisoned cards and call them to rear. This is just a way to get back their resources, but also eats away at their own resources, whether it be their soul or their Counterblast, to get those cards back onto the field. Taking away from your prison, but with other cards like Seraph Pure Light, it's just that much easier to then get back those resources that your opponent tried so desperately to reclaim. And then as for the trigger lineup, deciding to go with the rainbow lineup. So 4 of the Patrol Robo Decker Cop as the added into soul plus 2,000 power option. You want to go with all the different triggers with abilities that we have, including 3 of the Emma Laureate's Connector for the additional shield. And the same going for Cardinal, Draco, Imperio with the additional plus 5 shield, just like the draws. And our heal trigger being the Aurora Battle Princess, True's Green. I would say the most fitting trigger, just being one of the same as all the other Aurora Battle Princesses in the deck. And lastly, the over trigger being the Eldo Breath with the double critical pressure and also then the additional 100 million. It just adds for that strength you can add against your opponent when they go up to guard against your attacks, and then you just end up doubling all the criticals you get, which is very, very scary with the Seraph Pure Light and its initial setup, giving the additional critical to all your front row. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's a very strong deck. Like I said, the Seraph Pure Light is probably one of the best decks to come out of set 4. So definitely invest in it if you're looking to have something pretty competitive with the upcoming tournaments and regionals. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.